This class is short, but it's also very important. And as you can see from the word innovation, it seems to be in the news all the time now, because we have just started a new revolution with artificial intelligence. No idea where that's going, but I'm sure there'll be something along soon to replace it and even be more fascinating than artificial intelligence. But we do hit these periods in history where we have revolutions in the sense of new techniques, new products, new ways of working. We had the railway age, we had the canal age, we've had the Industrial Revolution, we have automation, we have all sorts of processes comes along on the way. And after a while we've adapted to them, and then we look for something else. And this is the story of innovation, really. So in this short class, I want to skip through a few points and just talk about it generally, just introduce the idea of innovation. We have many classes to come on innovation. It's a very important topic. So let's start. It involves the capacity to adapt quickly by adopting new techniques and technological innovations. Technological innovations in the terms of products, the way the products are designed and what they can do, the processes, the strategies that companies implement and use, competitive strategies, market strategies. These are innovative, some of them. Organizations, the way organizations are designed, the way they produce the items, the way they organize their administration, they can all be assigned the word innovative, because we're always looking for better ways to do things. It seems to be a characteristic of being a human. Humans are always looking for better ways and quick ways and more efficient ways. So that's, in a sense, what drives innovation. It's this desire within us to have something new, something better, something more interesting, something perhaps labour-saving, more efficient. Joseph Schumpeter, argued that innovation comes about through new combinations made by an entrepreneur. And these are they're going to result in a list of points I'll give you in a second. Just for the moment, Joseph Schumpeter is really the father of this type of material. Nearly everything we get on innovation, we can point it back to one person, and that is Joseph Schumpeter. So when we finished, you can go and look him up online and perhaps do a little reading about Joseph Schumpeter. But everything really comes from there. It's been refined a lot by others, and others have made really significant contributions. But if it's a starting point, someone who really recognized the importance of innovation, I would point to Schumpeter. So the new combinations can lead to a new product. They're so radically different and so interesting. We have a new product. Or we could have a new process in the company, a new way of working, a new way of combining machinery and people, or a new adaptation of a machine to do something else. That's an innovation. It's a new way of working or a new way of doing things. It's not just a new product. It could be opening a new market. That's an innovative idea. Perhaps in the past the product was not sold in some country for whatever reasons, but now circumstances have changed, so to say, okay, we'll now sell in that market. And that's, in a sense, innovative. It's innovative for the company. They're doing something new. They're adapting to a new market. They have to go and look at how to market in that market, how to present the product, how to sell. It's innovative. It could be a new way of organizing the business. The business was set up perhaps as a very flat organization. Flat in the sense that everybody was at the same level. Everybody was, the product ran from receiving the raw materials through to the finish, and the offices saw that it went out and got marketed. It may go to more specialized production, where there's a specialised marketing team and a specialised production team. The stores are responsible for having the requisite raw materials and storing the finished output, and logistics for efficient distribution. These are all departments within an organisation that we would today recognise. And these are new ways of organising the business. They're innovative. So there could be new sources of supply. That's an innovation as well. Perhaps in the past, all the supplies came from one particular country. Now they might come from different countries. And there may be advantages to that, security of supply, or it may be it's cheaper or whatever. But it's an innovation. It's a change. It's a difference. Now, this slide has got a lot of information. I'm not going to read this out to you. You're, I'm sure, capable of reading it out yourself. And the reason I include all of this information, which I'd ask you to freeze the video and make your own notes from this and study it. This is an example of an innovation that we often point to. It was by Bessemer, and Bessemer found a way of making mass production steel. And you start by with some sort of iron, and you smelt it, you turn it into liquid form, you heat it, and you blasted, and you blasted with air and so on, and you heat it up again. I'm not quite sure how it works, but as you can work out from what I'm saying, but that's essentially it. And you do this a few times and you end up with a good quality steel. Now, before Bessemer, we didn't have that. And the picture there looks it looks very industrial, but it's a representation of what he did. And without him, we would not have had the progress that we've had to date, particularly when we need steel. Another innovation was Pasteur. Pasteur has managed to pasteurize milk. Now, milk before this was very basic. It was just milk, and people could get ill from drinking it. So it was it's a sort of health issue. But the pasteurization process, we're so used to it now, but it's so important for all of us, for our health. That was an innovation. It took milk and, in a sense, changed it. It didn't change the essence of it, but changed the safety of the milk by instituting this extra process, which was named after him. Pasteur was his name, and we now have pasteurized milk. And we'll have to have this slide. This slide is wonderful. This is the assembly line. We don't think about it as an innovation at all. We don't even think about it. But assembly lines are everywhere in industry, just about. People do a part of a job and they pass it on to their colleague who does another part and passes it on to another colleague. And eventually it gets to the end and somebody parcels it up and it's done. Nowadays we work on computers, but we still may have to pass the work from one computer to the next. And we have it networked, and we work on a file and we pass it to our colleague who does something else, and eventually it's done. Now, it's not always the case. Sometimes we work from start to finish, but often we work sequentially. And Henry Ford, of Ford Cars fame, was the first one to come up with the assembly line. And that picture would not be too far off what's meant by an assembly line. Usually it was a row of men. You'll see all of them wear caps for some reason. I think that was the fashion of the time. But a lot of men, and they were all working on machines, and when they'd finished, they would hand it to the one beside them who would do another process. And that was very efficient because they built up a skill in making that one process, in delivering that one process. and they would pass it to their colleague, and their colleague was an expert in doing something else, and they would do something to it and pass it on to the next one who would do something to it. And by the time it got to the end of the line, it was ready to go into the car. And that's where Ford cars came from. Really, that was one of the first, well, it was the first mass-produced car in the world. So, all credit to Henry Ford for doing it. Now, there's a lot of criticism from a lot of people about this, and I understand it. It is soul-destroying. It is boring. Working on a line like that, you can imagine every day of your life, just about. You get maybe a week's holiday every year or something, maybe a Sunday off, or whatever. The rest of the time you're standing there for 8 hours or maybe 9 hours a day, just doing the same task over and over and over. And that's very difficult to understand. So it was very tough life for those workers. At the end of the process, of course, we got a car. No, I say we, somebody got a car. I didn't, but somebody got a car. And eventually start producing more and more cars. But the idea of the assembly line was born, and other companies started to copy it. Nowadays, we have it as well, but if I show you nowadays, you can see it's probably different. We now have AIs and we have machines, and they're problem solving, and they're doing it, and they're flexible, and they're purpose built for the job. So we still have the idea of the assembly line, but we have innovated the whole thing. We, as humans, we have innovated the whole thing. So now we have machines doing that horrible job that all those men had to do in the past. These people here lined up, working away on their individual machines. Now, the robotic arms are doing it. So you can see innovation is onwards and upwards. Innovation happens all the time. It's a continuous process. And as I speak right now, there will be clever people in the world somewhere designing something new, another part of the assembly process perhaps, something to do with trade or design or whatever, and they'll come up with a process that will shock us and make us amazed in the future. So that's the idea of innovation, and I hope that gives the first insight into what's meant by it. So let's leave it there and say thank you for watching.